9:30. My hands are really flat. Can't get rid of it.
May 17th. Yesterday? Yesterday.
But I felt
Okay.
pretty good on that. I don't know what I did.
Thank you.
So you.
Oh, is it the, oh, here, proposal and strategic, is that the one?
Oh,
No. Oh, here it is, options, interim, okay. Okay, so thank you.
okay. We'll call our meeting to order. Could you, read the roll for us?
Do you want to do the pledge first?
Let's do the pledge. Thank you.
Okay.
So everyone's in line. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll take the roll.
Yeah.
Callender now.
Here.
Close.
Matthew Phipps.
Here.
Stacy Stelner.
Here.
Matthew Spalding.
Here.
Carrie Trask.
Here.
Tony Mostelka.
Here.
And Kathy Bowes.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we only have one agenda item on our agenda today was the interim superintendent search, and we have Joe Sheehan here and his wife Barb is his note taker. So we're happy to have you guys here in Manitowoc. And Joe has two proposals that he'd like to discuss with us so that he can move forward. And then also, I did share with the board also the ads, the ad options
Great,
as well.
great,
So
sure.
Joe, take it away.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks. We forget to thank you as school board members. And I seriously, you need to go home and thank whoever you're with, because they're giving up your time. Some of you may go to get out of here, but seriously, we forget about that sometimes. Whoever your significant other is at home, tell them thanks. All right, so why are we here? Mark's leaving. You need a superintendent. The discussion you've already had and been made that an interim would be the best step. I'm going to try not to opinionate very much, but I will in the beginning.
Okay.
That was a good move. The pool shrinks very quickly. I mean, you think, oh, we got plenty of time, doesn't start till next year. For you to go out and look for your permanent suit, it'll probably be next fall, around November. And you go, that's early, but that's when you want to get out and take advantage of having an interim. They wouldn't start till July, but you'd have them with you and committed by then. So how do we get there? I also need to say, I think people are looking at you, okay? Candidates that are thinking about coming to Manitowoc are going to be looking, okay, they're going to say, how's the board? So it's critical as you work together that people see that. I'm not saying agree on everything, but I'm saying come as one unit. We are the board. We see things differently at times, but bottom line, we're here for Manitowoc. The more you say that, the better pool you're going to ultimately have next fall. So please remember that. And you go, it's no big deal. I'm just another person. No, you're the school board. And I'm not trying, that's a significant piece of this community. That's who you are. Okay, the two options. One has to do it, and did you get these? Okay, do you want me to read them, or one is shorter than the other? One says, let's get going on it. You interview, probably talk to administrators, what are they looking for, and we post it and get moving. And we interview in early June. The second one would have more focus groups, such as community members, parents, staff. You'd meet with them and say, okay, what are you looking for? In an interim, you probably don't, again, it's up to you, but the interim piece, remember, you're asking for an interim, what are you looking for, not your full superintendent. And when that happens in the fall, whether it's our firm or somebody else, they're going to be asking you, what are you looking for? You know, what types of characteristics are you looking for? And this one, it's more of what do you expect from your interims? What do you want him or her to do? Do you want him to go out and be in the classrooms a lot? Do you want him to be strictly in the office and do operational? You know, the important thing is you need to tell me what you want your interim, not your superintendent, but what you want your interim to do and be. Then what that helps, quite frankly, I got a list of like 20 some people that based on what you tell me tonight, some of them will fit and some of them won't. I mean, it's that simple. So the clearer you can give us of what you're looking for, the better match we can have. I hope that makes sense. So what I would suggest is talking about the two options. What do you want to do? Do you want to have focus groups or not? I mean, that's obviously your call.
I have a question right after that.
Why is there a difference in the number of candidates between the school board focus and the modest community engagement? So you have a consultant recommends 1 to 3 if it's a school board focus. And then the modest community engagement, you have listed 2 to 3.
And that number can change. Actually, I think we talked to Stacy. It sounds like you're interested in seeing all the candidates, which you can do that. It's your search. So, and that one put in those kind of bookmarks. And based on, that's a good question at the beginning though. How many do you want to see? I can tell you now with the interims, you're not going to see 20. I mean, they're just not out there. But I'm sure hoping 5 to 7. And if you want to see all of them, great. If you're not saying, Joe, based on what you're telling me tonight and what you're looking for, I've narrowed the 7 down to 3, then you'd interview the 3. But again, it's your call.
What about a hybrid? I think we want to be efficient about this because it's already getting late. And so I would say not the big committee.
Okay.
But I don't think anybody here has ever been on a superintendent search before. And I would like somebody with a little bit of experience to be able to provide advice and to perceive things that we should look out for. To be working with us, when we're doing this stuff. I don't know what you think, but I just don't think this is a kind of a time to get real amateurish. So not the whole stakeholder thing, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I'm leaning more towards number 1 only because it is our interim. I can see definitely the second one being, I mean, we have to have community stakeholders involved. But the kind of the more limited focus group, that's the one that I would be kind of leaning toward. And Colin, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, it's pretty much just ingredients there. I think I'd like to see number 1 as well, with that one focus group possibly. I don't know if I'd like to focus the community engagement going into our superintendent search, the one where there's going to be more the potential that this person would be around a little bit longer. That I would like to see there where we have the community engagement. This side would be, let's get somebody in there, get the ball rolling, and let's get somebody for now.
Okay, thanks. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think number 1's probably, in my opinion, the way to go here. I don't know if we want to drag the process out longer for an interim than we have to.
Okay. What about, one of the things that I, think we should talk about is at least one administrative group. Who do you guys envision? Is that all our principals, all our directors, Mark, who that would do the focus group? Who do you guys envision that would be to give us some ideas of what support they're going to need during this interim process?
In my mind, I thought of a combination of those things, of a few people from kind of each area.
Okay.
I honestly wouldn't mind bringing in teachers into that group also.
I was a teacher.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to see the administration, in some capacity, maybe the principal like a high school, and then obviously a teacher in the middle school level, maybe an elementary teacher as well.
Colin?
Yeah, I had there was a couple people that had reached out to me saying they wanted to be part of the process. Maybe them. I would like to see not just administration, but I like the fact that there's inclusion of some of the teachers, some of the people that they really are they're wanting to be part of the process. So if they're wanting to be part of the process, let's put them in the process. So I think that's a great opportunity. And then if they like being part of the process, there you go. Let's you've been part of it already. Kind of a training event.
I'm throwing her under the bus here, but honestly, it'd be great to have Lori in the committee. If she was willing, just because she'll work directly with that person and has worked, with others also, so. that doesn't- She's gonna put it, so I didn't see that coming,
The
but,
original things is best.
yeah, but I just think that might be.
I don't know, I think you need a few more administrators. I mean, one administrator, principal at the high school, sure, but, there's different levels of concern here, so that, I mean, I don't think all of them necessarily, but certainly one of the junior high or middle school principals.
Man, did you have something?
I just wouldn't want to close out the idea of a stakeholder, business owners in the community as well. I mean, if there was a problem with this business that wanted to.
Okay,
have a
now
stakeholder-
we're now moving though
Yeah, we're
into
moving
the
to
4 to 5
second
focus
tier.
groups,
Okay.
right? I
So
mean,
maybe that would be for the second. group
Yeah.
Later on.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the second one is gonna have community members, students, faculty, administration. I mean, there's gonna be, that's how I envision the second one being. But this initial one, we want to make sure that we're not, or we take the second one. I mean, if that's what everybody wants is a conglomeration of all those people, then it makes more sense to do the community engagement one rather than the first one.
I was kind of in agreement with Tony in the interest of time on the interim one. That's all why I went that way.
Yeah, I just wonder how many people are in the focus group, maybe, so
It's a great question.
that's it for me.
Colin, hang on one second. Joe,
10 to
what-
12.
10
So, I
to
mean,
12.
You got quite a few, with 12 people, you can fit quite a few of your stakeholders.
Mhm.
But again, the comment you make with the interim, you say, so here's what we're doing at the interim. If you as a board are comfortable, you can say, this is just the interim. Trust us, we're gonna get your input on the actual search. And if you're committed to that, start saying that now.
Mhm.
That's important for people to hear.
Colin?
That was actually what I would, I think that if maybe just have a number and we fill in those people that we want to see for that focus group. And then that's a little bit easier rather than just, well, let's pick this person, pick a number. All right, well, we have our focus group, move it forward. And that's even if, as Joe just alluded to, whether we even do the focus group, if there's if we just move this football forward and put it out there that we, let's get some candidates and go from there. I would just like to see the process for the interim moved relatively quick.
So Joe, one question I would have is, I'm assuming you meet with the focus group and collect data, or is that something that we all meet with them?
You can do it either way. And again, we're gonna keep saying, you got options. They're not options. It's your options, not mine. We have two. One, sounds like you want focus group. You got to identify what 12 you want there or 10, whatever number you want. And then the next one is, do you want me talking? Okay, talk to us. What qualities are you looking for? That's why I'd be asking them. And what issues do you want them to deal with?
Okay.
That can be me, or that can be you as a representative of your board, or it could be both of us. Again, there's options out there, and I'm intentionally trying to keep it great for you to make the decision.
Well, I think it'd be better if Joe did it.
Okay.
I mean, you know what to ask, and
Well, it's quite simple. What qualities are you looking for to get the interim successful, to get ready to hire your next suit? That's it. And are there any particular issues that the interim needs to be aware of?
Sure.
So,
But I think, we're probably going to just have that same discussion among ourselves. What qualities are we looking for? What are the high priority items
hopefully we'll have that
to
tonight.
focus on?
Right.
Oh, we're going to do that tonight.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Well, so let's start with, if we can, let's talk about who we want in that focus group. Let's say we're gonna do 10 to 12 people. It sounds like one middle school representative, one high school representative, maybe 2 elementary, since we have so many
Sure.
elementary schools. I think we need to have a special ed piece in
Yep.
there,
Gonna say that one.
directors, some directors.
See, it's hard when you start thinking about, oh, it's easy, 12's plenty
Yeah, right.
to get.
What about buildings, grounds, areas? Like custodial or something.
Remember, this is for your interim.
Yeah, this is just interim. I should say just, that's a very key person, but
Well, right, I understand that. I mean,
What about a former superintendent like Mark Swanson or John Kuba? Or are they just sort of out of it now and really have no sense of where we are and what we need?
Probably. I mean, I guess I would say that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's enough people that we want to hear from that are in the thick of it every day that would be able to identify what we need. You know, I think that they are kind of the outside looking in. But again, I don't think that they would be, I think they would be good choice for the big one, right?
Okay,
Because
all right,
they,
sure, okay, that's good.
but right now, we're looking for a very short period of time, an interim person that is going to be able to, I think somebody said carry the football, right? I mean, carry the football for the next year and, you know, keep the ship afloat, but also, you know, we have some initiatives, things that we want to have carried out in this next year
Sure.
that they're able to do that. So, you know, I think we should keep it in-house. Who are some of our key people? Who do we want to hear from on, you know, what characteristics, what do they need for the next year? What kind of leader do they need? What kind of things, you know, we know some of those things as far as issues that the superintendent, the interim needs to know. You know, but that would be my thought, is that we identify some key people that can provide us that data, and that for Joe to go and at us too, right? Because we're going to be looking through these and go, I don't know if this one fits the bill, or, you know, whatever. So
What we typically do when we're trying to put a focus group together is we pick like an elementary, middle school, high school principal. We usually reach out to the MEA and ask for an MEA rep,
Yeah.
which then generally one of those are elementary, middle school, high school, or all three of them. And not that they speak always for all people, but their leadership team would
and they're
potentially have.
voted in by their peers, right? That are in the MEA.
Yeah, so their executive committee is voted, right? So they have a president, vice president, et cetera. So that would be someone who I would at least consider to allow them to pick something like that. So that's a teacher group. You know, if you use Lori as one of those pieces, that can be part of the support staff group. One of the things that you want to consider is, I think what I heard was you want to get this moving forward in a relatively quick manner.
Yes.
And so we have, you know, this week is probably out of the question, right? Because Thursday, Friday, we don't have school day. It's, you know, teacher work day. So then we're really looking at next week is, and we have to be able to pull this together. You know, if we're thinking next week, or because the following week is Memorial Day, and then
Now we're
Tuesday,
into
right?
June.
I mean, we're into
Yeah,
June.
that's right.
So we really, you know, if you add a lot, the schedules become a little bit more conflict because there's lots of stuff going on, and we can start naming, like Wednesday next week is scholarship night, so the high school's going to be out if we do it on Wednesday. The following is our retirement celebration, so that's good. I mean, then the following Wednesday is the day before graduation. I mean, this moves fast. So I think if if you identify who the people are, I definitely could give the board an email of here are, you know, like not who the people. I guess I'm trying to avoid saying I want Mark Holtzman or I want Lori Brown. We want principals, directors, teachers, and then I'll give you that as opposed to at the board meeting naming individuals whom, you know, because you're always leaving somebody
You
out.
can do that by Tuesday?
What's that?
You could do that by Tuesday?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're always leaving somebody out, even though you're having a good interest in telling somebody, I really appreciate your feedback on that piece, because we only have
Yeah.
Right. Con, oh, I'm sorry,
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Colin?
Yeah, I guess the focus group, what would the focus group even be doing to be, as I was thinking through this, what would their task be in this process?
Hopefully after tonight's discussion, you're gonna have a clear expectation of what you're looking for this interim to do. You mentioned some initiatives or things like that. There are a few things you have. I need to know those to recruit and saying, if you want the interim, there's some things they want to get done. On the other side, what are some operational things just to keep the ship moving? And that's what we'd be saying they do.
So they would be looking into those operational needs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, by including your teacher association, what the message you're giving them is you're going to be involved. Down the road, the next step, you're going to be at the table. Having Lori there, it wasn't a dump. I think it's a compliment actually, but you there again, you're sending the message.
Well, I think
You're saying two messages. One, you're saying we want to hear from you, but you're also saying we have some initiatives we want to get going on.
Right.
And that's a powerful message.
okay, so let's back up and let's identify two things. Let's identify the qualities that we're looking for in an interim, what we want them to be doing. And then let's go into what we want the focus group to do. And maybe if we just follow Joe's great bullet points that he had here, which is set up in that order, we could have done that. So what are some things that we are looking for right now in our interim superintendent?
I think we need an honest assessment of the district in short order. You know, that should be something that we get a fresh set of eyes on.
Okay, so what we'd like is our interim superintendent to really kind of do a deep dive of what's going on in our, and we're gonna, and I think,
Are we doing that?
well, one of the things I'm thinking is, in talking to the strategic planning people,
Yeah.
that the superintendent interim will do that with us, and that we can, kind of do that together, basically. So is that what you're talking about, Tony? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, obviously, you know, that role is going to be interacting more with the day-to-day operations, so we'll have more insight on that. You know,
So if I can just, so someone that would be able to offer us a perspective on what are the biggest issues in the district, how are we doing, where are we, you know, just kind of a compilation of that, so to speak.
So an evaluation of pitfalls and successes within the district that need to be addressed, and through a thorough evaluation of what's going on from obviously a different perspective than we had in the past.
And that's where I think you guys, that's what we'd be hiring the strategic planner to do with the
Yeah.
interim, would be, they're gonna do a SWOT analysis. They're gonna do that, but the interim superintendent would go out and actively help the strategic planner collect that information, is what I'm thinking I hear you guys saying. Is that right?
That's very clear marching orders, if that's what you're saying.
That's what I think we should be doing.
Yeah, did I come back to you before?
No, but that's okay.
Okay. Colin,
One thing I would like to for preferred quality, clear communication is, I think we really need to have good, clear communication as to what's going on with schools, conveyed to the board and to the other administrators as well. I think somebody that can facilitate clear communication and be Johnny on the spot with that information is very key.
I want to bounce off of what you're saying too, Colin. This is what's been on my mind. You know, to say we want someone who's good at communicating is like a standard issue, right? Like everybody's looking for that person. So I was trying to like hone it down a little bit more for myself. And I thought someone who's almost like good at PR, you know, who's really good at connecting people together and just just that bringing people together, having that positive personality, warm and friendly. I think while being able to take care of business, we need someone who's like that, to join groups together. That's kind of how I saw it. I know it's kind of like a vague,
Right,
but specific.
Right, but I think it hones into, that, we know with COVID and we know with just the climate of the community and that it has been difficult on everybody in our district, and there's lots of things. And so the other thing we're looking at is how can we all extend, like just in these first couple weeks, we've really been trying to go out and be present as a board to the staff, that we're here and, we want to participate. And so I think in line what you're saying is that we want somebody that is going to be able to, kind of connect all these dots. And with that, I think that what we're going to do as a board is we're going to have some clear directives on how best we would like to be communicated with. So I think that will help that process.
Yeah, I was at the WASB convention in February and listened to a retired superintendent who'd worked a year as an interim, and it was real clear what his game plan was. And I thought the one thing that an interim has is that he or she they don't have to like, be extra careful in some ways, because they're not going to be staying longer than a year. They can focus more on things that need to be taken care of and remove, or at least begin to remove, problems to prepare the way for the real, the next full-time superintendent. I mean, there's some clear problems that we have right now. I mean, we have Franklin School, which is a problem. It's sort of been dealt with in some ways, but probably needs a little bit more work before the job is taken over by a new person. For example, we may need a principal there. We probably do. The second thing is that, there's a number of people in the administration that aren't going to be here next year. We need somebody who can make good hires, get good people into place so that when the new person comes on, then the machinery, the personnel are there to begin working right away. We need to start to implement a behavioral program to kind of calm things down after the pandemic, to get things back in some kind of reasonable shape. And the other thing is that we have to kind of restore some confidence that may have been injured between principals and teachers. That's clearly the case, at least with some people in the middle school. So what we need is somebody who's a troubleshooter, who's saying, yeah, I did this where I used to work and I know how to handle this, et cetera, et cetera. You just tell me what you know, and find out what really is happening. And then, prepare the way for the next person.
Beautifully said. Fearless, proactive, problem solver. Please write that down.
Fearless. Yeah. The person doesn't have a stake in make a career.
You did very nice job.
Fearless, proactive. So we need a proactive problem solver.
There's more than just the hand.
Yeah, that's everything I was gonna say. Kind of Carrie summed it up. You're really
Tony?
good. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Tim.
go ahead.
I apologize.
Once in a while you get it
Guys,
right.
think out of turn.
Yeah, some days you stumble into like coherence or something.
Go ahead.
Along with everything that he said, and then to touch on the communication part, I think this has to do with communication a little bit, as someone who effectively leads with the board. So that communication part, and then somebody who leads with the board as opposed to, just using the board as kind of like a rubber stamp. That's my biggest thing, I think, communication. Someone who leads with the board.
Tony?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I think as part of this discussion, we should make sure that this person is, philosophically aligned with the board. And when I say that, I'm specifically referring to, you know, moving away from identity-based, approaches, you know, when dealing with, issues, and moving more towards a principles-based approach. I 100% agree.
And would that, I mean, again, I'm seeing that as, yes, important for interim following our lead, but really, really being most important when we hire that.
I would agree, but to Carrie's point, you know, it's probably this guy's or gal's only gonna be here for about a year. So let's just get it going now. And I think we need a culture reset in that sense, where we move away from these things and do this.
Well, that's assuming, of course, that, you know, there's a major problem with that now. I mean, you may think you perceive that, but I don't know that to be the case.
I perceive that.
And I worry about, you know, mixing ideology with education.
Well, I don't look at it as ideology as much as just, like I said, it's principles, right? So I think, you know, and really the broader question is, you know, what's the purpose of public education, right? I think we can all agree that the focus should be on, you know, measurable achievement, right? Getting the kids to score well in math and reading and prepare them for productive lives after school. What I don't think has a place in public education is, even if it's well-intentioned, which I'm sure it probably is some of these programs and thought processes, like look at Darude, right? I mean, this came up before.
I'm not going there, but.
Well, you're not going there,
you
but
know.
we've been there, right? The district's been there. We spent 42 grand on that. And then
Yeah,
30
they don't-
administrators were trained on that. And
I don't see much of an impact from that.
well, you know, I've heard otherwise. And my concern is that if we allow that mentality to persist, I think that sends the wrong message to our community. And I think that's something that we need to address right now as a board. And I think it's important in this hire.
I would have to agree with you, Tony. I mean, we just had somebody here for public input last time that was speaking and didn't even have an opportunity to get everything out that he wanted to say. So obviously this is something that's passionate with some of our parents and community members.
Yeah, and that guy had a lot of misinformation to present. I mean, he said some things that were just dead wrong, and very much you know, very much out of a worldview that may not be appropriate.
It's not the fact of what he said, maybe of his perception. That's the problem. Perception is everything, and it's based on that person's perception.
Perception, isn't it?
And
Okay.
you know,
Okay,
Okay, guys, I'm gonna
We-
give Kathy first and then you, okay?
I guess what I want to add to this, guys, is right now, we need to be focused on what we want the interim to be, and Tony expressed how he feels. But this isn't the time to have that divert battle discussion right now, and it's about how each of us feels on this.
I know, I just thought we should stay away from it.
Yeah, but it seemed like it was kind of going there, so I kind of
Well,
wanted to throw my
yeah.
foot between the two. Sure.
Colin?
yeah, so I mean, those are, you know, obviously there's different philosophies on things. I think one thing that we can take to this is a temporary position, rather than a full-time position. You know, this person is not going to be here. So for a long duration, what I would maybe suggest is that we have the person with a clear understanding that they're there to keep the ship afloat, not to implement, not to direct, not to change courses, simply just to right the way. And the main work of, you know, when it comes to the philosophies and in how and principles, those would be for the main superintendent. I don't foresee the interim to be tackling, you know, contentious issues. This should be just simply, let's just keep things going, and that's it.
as directed by the board, right? I mean, so one of the things we're really gonna need to do is we need to implement we have some disciplinary action things that need to happen, and they need to happen now. And so that would be a directive. So it may be new, right? We might be doing something new. But again, it's gonna be more board directed rather than, delegating necessarily to the superintendent to come up and create a whole new disciplinary policy. The other thing I wanted to say is, I haven't had a chance to talk to everybody yet, but one of the things that came out of some of the meetings over the last couple of weeks with regard to the parents that came and talked to us is, we talked about on the exec committee, I talked with Mark today, it's not necessarily the content as it was our procedure followed. And so one of the things that Mark and I talked about today is maybe we need to reinforce to our current staff and the flow of information is when a controversial topic's coming up, how do we handle that? So it's not so much about ideology and DeRoot as it is that we need to look at those policies and create something. And again, as a directive from the board about how we want to move forward with that. So while I think that that's going to be a piece of it, I think that again, with our strategic plan, that groundwork is going to be laid for how we want that rolled out in the district.
I hear what you're saying, and I guess I just, I'm not suggesting this person come in and wave a wand and do all this in one fell swoop, but I think it's important that, the person realize that, hey, we're moving away from, identity-based programs and we're moving in this direction. And if the person that, we're considering is like not in line with that, then
Right.
I think we need to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, Kathy?
One of the things that I want to bring up too, because Carrie mentioned seeing him speak, the interim superintendent that we saw down at WASB at the convention.
Yeah.
And I was there too, and we were both just super impressed by him. One of the things I think that I
Does
just
he need a
remember.
job?
What's that?
Does he
No,
need a
he
job?
I'm going to take him. He's like down my mouth.
I don't know. It's
No, okay.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, he seemed top notch. But one of the things that just came to my mind that I was really impressed with him was his philosophy about bringing in the contracted superintendent, not the interim. So he would come alongside that person and bring that superintendent in, and they worked together for several months, that they were both there.
Yeah.
So while the interim was still working, he welcomed having this new superintendent to come in so they could work alongside one another, and it was a smoother transition that way, instead of all of a sudden like Mark is gone, we have a new interim, then all of a sudden we have to have someone totally new. It was just a smoother overlap. And I think he was really good at that from what we understand. It wasn't just he that spoke either. There was people on their board and others who spoke about him, and they had the same kinds of things to say, and how much that added to the transition. Like it just made it so much easier.
I agree.
And it was about being open to other people and being a communicator, willing to share leadership. There's an attitude behind it.
The other thing, I think, one of the things that he really did a wonderful job on is that this was a school system that was just like, honestly, they may have closed it down. I mean, there was just morale problems like in the max.
Mm-hmm.
And the teachers were, looking to, jump ship and the community was like unhappy. And this guy came in and, because of his personality mostly, I think, and because he worked well with people, he had a lot of good experience. He restored a sense of confidence there. And there's a lot of people right now that are pretty nervous of this transition. And I think what the new person has to do is to try to restore a kind of a confidence so that people can focus on what they're professionally supposed to be working. Mm-hmm. It's just like the Franklin School thing. Let's cut the bitching. Let's just, let's fix it up. Let's get it going again. Once, and he said, like, once people began to talk to one another again, or began to feel confident about the survival and the improvement of the school system, boy, everybody started to get along much better.
Yeah, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, so what do we all have for quality so far? I mean, it's starting to sound kind of muddled, and it doesn't seem like I don't know, it sounds like we're telling stories. So, what do we have for qualities that,
Joe, you want to read them back to us, what you have?
Sure, I have a few. What I did here, fearless, proactive, problem solver. All of you nodded at that. Okay, what does that mean? I mean, I heard some other things. I think what it means, I'm not sure who said this, but it's more of accountability, student success. What does it look like and how do you measure it? So that may go into different types of programming, but that's what you're saying. Okay, what do we identify as student success? How do we measure it? I mean, that's you and the board doing that.
I guess, Colin, what I was saying is somebody that works well with people.
I
You know,
got 4 or 5 more what I heard you
yeah,
say.
Yeah,
You said a PR person, that, you want someone visible, someone that has good hiring skills of what the turnover may be. And then also put identify, I think you were saying, identify the strengths and what's happening right now. Not solutions. That's not what the interim would do, but clearly identify, handing it off to the new soup along with you and the board. Saying, I've spent lots of time, I'm the interim, I've spent lots of time talking to staff and parents and that. Here are the issues you're gonna have to deal with. The interim is not my job to figure it out. You will.
Yeah.
And that may include an overlap or not, depending how well it works. Am I hearing what you're saying, or if I'm missing it, please tell me, because this is what I need to walk away with and start making phone calls for candidates. And one more thing, and I'll be quiet again. A strength of what you have, you said fearless in that. If I heard you're saying, hey, they may come up with something you don't want to hear.
right, and we want to hear it.
You
Yeah,
want that,
absolutely.
correct.
So I'd rather have a doer that at least is gonna tell us in the evaluation, and then we can work together, as a board and the superintendent to implement change right away. Instead of just saying, hey, you're gonna evaluate and count beans, and then there's gonna be somebody else that takes over. Like, I wanna start implementing positive change right away. So that's where the whole fearless, proactive problem solver is more so I want, instead of just a PR ship, keep it afloat. I'd rather have somebody that is fearless to actually do those things before they're 1 year over, because I want our community to go in the right direction before our final superintendent is here. Not just have a school that's open and food for the kids.
Do you agree with you?
Yeah, it's like we're trying to get the ball rolling, and so when that interim can come in and get
A
that. ball
transitional
rolling,
expert, let's call it that,
Yeah.
huh?
When
Yeah,
it gets
sure.
the ball rolling,
I can make
you lose a
beautiful
year,
words.
and then that second person comes in and they have to
That's
kind of
good.
train and find
Right.
things out. So yeah, the more we can get going, the sooner the better.
We don't want just a caretaker.
We don't want a placeholder.
So you're saying, again, don't just identify some of the issues, hopefully do that in the first semester, the second one, get on them.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the.
I don't see why we have to wait a year, to get things done. I mean, I don't know if you guys disagree, but.
I don't either.
I don't think any of us want to do that, really.
Right.
I mean, that's
So
kind of
we should ask that this person,
and we want to hear what they have to say as far as solutions. I mean, we're not necessarily gonna always follow them, but they've done this job before, right? I mean, we haven't, we've never been a superintendent, and likely they've gone through the ranks, right? They've been a teacher, they've been a principal, and they have a lot to add. And that's where I said that I think that it's gonna be someone that, works well with all of us, the whole district but let's get moving, absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing I would add to that, Joe, is, what I said about a principles-based approach. I think that's important when you talk to these people. So again, it's more in line with traditional ideals of, just treating people based on character and not really breaking things down by the color of their skin or any of that stuff.
Do you as a group agree with that?
I agree with that.
I do.
I do too.
yup.
Okay, I mean, that gives direction to the interim.
Okay, so that's great. Thank you guys for all of that. So let's talk a little bit about our focus group and what we want. What?
One more thing.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to add somebody who is gonna empower their staff and their teachers. Somebody who's gonna give the teachers control of their classrooms and things like that. I know that's something that we do as well too, but I really wanna make sure that, somebody's fully invested in letting them manage their classroom. Because they're the ones that are directly dealing with unshaped. And that's important to me anyway, that I feel like the teachers have that they have control, and that's something that is going to be given to them by this interim and by our permanent superintendent as well. That's all I wanted to
You
add.
don't think they have that now?
No. That's all I want. And you could ask 99 out of 100 teachers and they'll tell you the same thing.
And again, I think Carrie, I think where a lot of this is coming from and where we're going to see some change is when we implement the behavior model. It's going to give the empowerment back to the teachers of feeling like they're heard, feeling like there's a plan in place of how this stuff is going to happen. And so again, there's a lot of, when I talk about initiatives, Joe, that is one of the big ones that I think is going to get our district back together, is that people feel heard and that there's something being done rather than just kicking the can down the road, which is, I think that's the sentiment that we get.
Yeah, I don't, well, that means, I mean, I think it's fairly presumptuous to, make declarations that the system is all screwed up and falling apart, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we've just come through 2 very, very abnormal years.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm not saying that we know that things aren't all screwed up. There are some really big glaring things that need to be done.
Sure, I
right?
couldn't
Absolutely.
agree more.
But we
you
have
know.
awesome things going on too, which is going to be super attractive to both the superintendents. But there are some immediate needs that we absolutely have to address, and that person needs to be ready to get in the mud and start helping us implement those things.
Yeah, some of that is some of the things that they need to get in the mud on. I mean, a consequence of the pandemic and every disjointed sort of aspect of that.
Maybe.
And I think we need to like pull away from that if we can, and you know, and work as a team. And
Hang on, let me get Colin first, because he's Colin.
Well, one thing I mean, Joe alluded to this right when he introduced himself. Is we need to kind of give this person, they're coming, how we approach this does matter. So if we're approaching this with a very direct, specific things, we're going to limit our people. We're also going to have the opportunity in board interviews to keep that in mind, to kind of discuss on a more specific level a lot of these candidates. So by keeping it somewhat broad, by keeping it somewhat attractive, we're going to attract people that are going to want to be part of on a winning team. We're creating a team here. So if we have a very specific approach, we're going to still have, this isn't the only opportunity to direct the ship. This is, there's going to be other opportunities. I think if we keep it relatively broad and relatively general, we can find a much, a better candidate pool that would be reflective of, that we can decide upon down the road. But I don't want to limit our options. And I also think that by maintaining a very by keeping our district looking in a positive manner and not so specific, it would attract some of those candidates that want to be on winning teams, et cetera. So I want to keep that in mind as well for people.
Okay, thanks. Matt?
I just want to keep the conversation very objective. This has nothing to do with personnel at all. So let's please keep it objective to where we're going and not where we're at for problems. We can talk about those individually, but let's keep it very objective to what we're looking for a superintendent. Let's not point fingers to the past. Okay? So
Absolutely.
we don't need to get down in the weeds here. We're
No.
going forward.
Right.
So with
And
what
I
Colin
think
said, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, what Colin said, I agree a lot, but at the same time, I want to be clear that, hey, if there's a fire, we got to be able to put it out. So I'm all for keeping our options open to having, candidates, but I don't like, I don't want to throw a rope-a-dope at them. I want them to be aware of, we have issues. Everybody knows that there's issues post-COVID, obviously, from what Terry was talking, but we want somebody that's motivated, that's going to be ready to take on these challenges. So I understand that, yeah, our candidate pool, we're talking maybe from 10 to 7, or, we'll probably lose 30% of the candidates, so I want to give them forewarning that, we're going to ask a lot out of them. And I'd rather not be, all rainbows and butterflies. I'd rather be clear and pointed to say, hey.
That's not what I'm saying, Paul. I'm not saying rainbows and butterflies. I'm saying let's keep it high end instead of specific and isolated.
Matthew?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that I never didn't want it to seem like anybody's pointing fingers or anything like that. This is just something that left over with COVID, the way that things work, like in the classrooms. Maybe the kids aren't used to a lot of the rules or whatever it may be. But the point is that things have gotten a little bit out of control, and teachers feel lost now. That's where I'm going with the control thing. Definitely had nothing to do with even the prior board or whatever. It's just something that we really need to empower. That's where my statement came.
Yeah.
So as an expectation,
Go ahead.
as an expectation of the interim is to deal with a disciplinary policy.
Yes.
I mean, if you have those,
Yes.
I want to tell them just what you said.
Yes.
It needs to be clear.
Yeah, it's
Right, yeah.
Okay, anything else? I get principle based.
I think I like the list Joe has composed. I mean, I want some things to be specific. I don't want to get into this situation. I mean, I've been through a lot of interviews things. And there was a good article in the New York Times about a month ago that said, yeah, the one thing you derive from an interview is you pick the person you most want to have a drink with. You look for somebody that's sort of like you and you could be friendly with. And it's just like, yeah, I think I really want somebody to come here with work with some work assignments and the inclination to want to take them on rather than to just sort of, sleep through a year and collect a paycheck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I have 2 very specific initiatives so far. Any others?
What are the 2? The disciplinary and
The
what's the other?
disciplinary and the principle-based approach. Right?
That's more, I would just say like a characteristic.
yeah, no, that's
Don't you think it's something that a candidate needs to be aware of?
Yeah.
That's an expectation of yours as a board.
Sure.
Well, my only fear, no, because
If it's not,
the
then
majority
then
agrees
don't
with
say
it,
it.
so.
Well, yeah, it is. We don't want anyone that's going to discriminate or treat people differently based on, we just agree on it as a board.
Yeah, but put that in the interview process then.
Right, that's where it would come when we ask a question about them. I mean, I think that's the other thing, they're gonna be, we're putting out an ad in there and it's not gonna say we're looking for a principle-based person the ad is gonna bring people to us and then we are gonna look at them and decide which ones we want to interview. And then in that interview, we're gonna ask these questions and, this is kind of what we're thinking. How do you feel about that? Or what's your idea on how you do that? And so I don't see this limiting our pool because people are looking for an interim position and they're just going to be looking for an interim position.
But
Like,
Joe
oh,
is going to
it's
screen.
closed.
Yeah, that's
Joe
what-
is going to screen.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah, and he's gonna say, well, this is sort of what the matter of people are looking for. I'm not gonna send up somebody that, they're not gonna be interested.
And it's more than okay. I mean, if you're, hey, we need a disciplinary policy to be reviewed. Oh, I didn't know that. Why waste their time and your time?
I agree. He's got a good list going over. Yeah. If
I could add that, I mean, the disciplinary policy, I know we talked about achievement, as well, so I'd be real interested in, developing some sort of a dashboard that we could share with the district and just have some sort of, key measurables that we could have transparency to with the public every month.
A student achievement test.
Yeah, something along, but we just gotta identify what are we gonna measure.
It's a wizard.
That's a lot.
And
Well,
I think-
again, though, don't forget, if we're gonna go with the strategic planning person,
Yeah,
they're
right.
gonna do that. That's gonna be part
That's
of
right.
that. Or do you want this interim to be doing our strategic plan?
No, and I think you should work with that strategic plan.
Absolutely.
No, I like that.
Absolutely.
It's good to put it in.
I just think, knowing that we're moving in that direction, I think this person should know, and that's details, TBD, right, as we develop them, but that's the direction that we're moving in. So if we get someone that's not interested in, accountability or that type of thing, then, it's
Yeah.
probably not gonna be a good fit.
Well, Joe's not gonna send us to.
Yeah. Is there anything we're missing on kind of the foundations of what we're looking
I would
for?
just add, anyone that's ideally got experience being a transformational leader, knowing that it's gonna be somewhat of a culture change here in our district. That's a pretty big.
Well, and I can tell you right now, the operational, but okay, I'll lay low, we'll get it done, the ship will be afloat. What I'm hearing is, you want more than that from the person.
Yes.
That will excite some of the people, go, oh, really?
That's what
They really want
But
to be
especially
fearless?
if we're doing an interim, because that gives us the ability to make transitions
Yeah,
faster. And like what Kerry said in the beginning, he said that if we have only a year, you only have 365 days to do your work, we're gonna be a little more apt to get the work done in a year. So that's where I like that retired transformational superintendent that's gonna come in and clean up, and then, we'll hire a different one after that, or we'll hire him.
Paving the way under a purpose.
Yep, pretty much that.
And the strategic plan, when are ballpark timeframe? Or do you?
Well, we are in the midst of collecting quotes. I just got, I think, my second one today. So we're going to be selecting that process and how we're going to do it within like the next couple weeks.
So from your
Yeah.
standpoint, sorry to interrupt, but just somebody that's gonna be cooperative with that process. I mean, that's all you need to know to ask for a screening question. Like, they're gonna be transitioning, they got a strategic planner involved. You gotta be on board to help out with that transition. But yet, give your input, we're fully invested in hearing the good, bad, and the ugly. Like,
Right.
and we want open communication all the way.
And hopefully if it's working well, that interim will be telling you as, hey, this is what I'm hearing, strategic plan people. Include that. Deal with
Exactly.
I have a question, actually, it's for Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Mark, how important do you think it is for an interim to have a really great understanding of a low spending district?
Oh.
Like how
Yeah.
much do they need to
Yeah.
understand that, or what kind of decision making will they have in the next year that could affect us? Like, do we need to look for someone who is
Fiscally responsible.
no matter
Yeah.
what, that's true.
Yeah.
That's kind of a.
But I'm
Loads
thinking,
of
we have
business going on,
notoriously been a low spending district, and there's a reason for that. Is there something we should be looking for in an interim that can help or hinder where we're at? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. I think, the board has definitely some challenges moving forward with the next biennium budget, because we don't know it, but this budget is being built currently, so, Angela will be a quality advisor. The person doesn't have to be the business manager, but the board is likely going to have long-term budgetary discussions in the next 6 to 9 months. We will begin year 2 of a 3-year referendum in July, and you're going to have some planning things in place, to determine where you feel you want to move after that, because the budget planning for the next coming year will depend on, are we going to seek additional resources? Are we going to do it operations? Are we going to do facilities? So I don't know that, someone has to have you could ask people about their knowledge. I think that's important. But I think all superintendents have had, I'm guessing the interim is going to be someone who's experienced the level of superintendency. So they'll understand the function of, the business aspects. But in general, you know, most of them are gonna rely heavily on your business manager to kind of give you him or her the lay of the land. I would say that when you get to the end, you're gonna want to know or be confident that they're going to lead the district and be able to make some recommendations to the board in regards to their fiscal management.
So it's kind of a standard then, is what you're saying. Most of them understand it. I mean, I know you have a great understanding of that. That's part of
I
it.
guess what you're kind of thinking on is we're fiscally need to be more responsible because we are a downtrending district. I mean, is that the way to say it
Well,
correctly?
no, what is true about Manitowoc is that we're a low spending district and there's nothing you can do about it with the exception of going to referendum. We are like, I shouldn't say nothing. You could advocate for it for our legislatures, but right now, likely in the next biennium budget, they're gonna give every school district the same amount of money. Which means the high spending school districts are gonna get the same as a low spending school district, and Manitowoc's a low. It's just fair to understand that. The board's the one who's gonna navigate the limited resources and what our priorities will be to some extent. But I think that the answer to your question is, if the board chooses to not go to referendum in 2024, they will have to find $4.3 million in reductions in the district. You have to cut $4.3 million. So that's not a 6 months conversation. You're gonna have to have that conversation within the next 6 to 9 months about what's gonna happen. And that will be part of the interim and then the next superintendent's piece. You know, so you're gonna have to have some understanding, but I'm confident that a interim is gonna have some background in business management. I mean, no matter where they are, they've done some of that.
Colin?
Yeah, knowing that we're gonna have budgetary constraints, I would have to state that I would have to think that we should probably have somebody that's not just able to do budgets, but somebody that can, I mean, to definitely give Angela some additional support or maybe thinking outside the box and how to handle that situation, I think would be beneficial. So somebody that is wise in or is, I guess, adept at finance is a good quality to have.
All right, I would like to move on though to the focus group, if that would be okay with everybody.
I'd just like to add real quick, Joe, I think, at least from my perspective, and I think most of you guys would probably agree, you know, if we're gonna be, I'm assuming this person is gonna cost the same as a traditional superintendent, right?
Yeah, the retirement system might have some savings there or health insurance.
Right, yeah, so if we're paying them the superintendent rate, you know, I think we approach it like, let's not take the year off and coast, right? Let's still develop, you know, the vision that we want and execute it. And this is the person that's gonna start.
Yep, I'm hearing that right from everybody.
Yeah.
Right, thanks for.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the focus group. You know, Mark had a suggestion on using the MEA representatives.
Colin asked it before, so the purpose of the focus group is you're going to use them as an advisory to see what they want or what they feel is important as a superintendent role.
Right, some of the things that you just said, here's what the board's looking for. I'll be asking the same questions of them. What qualities do you want in your interim? And it's hard, interim, not permanent. Okay, because they're gonna jump to that. Then the second one will be what issues should the interim deal with?
Does everybody agree that we should have a focus group for the interim because of time sensitivity? Is that something that we all agreed on?
I think we need to have at least one. I don't think we need to do this one that's 4 to 5, but I think the one that we have is a compilation of, you know, administration, teachers, staff, you know, whatever, you know, however we identify. So yeah, I do think that because again, that's going to bring, and again,
Insight to the
I
district that
think-
we don't know about.
yeah, but I almost think we're gonna find that it's very much in line with what we're saying.
Yep. Sure.
It's
Only
gonna be a
reaffirming.
validation that we're all on the same page,
But you're inviting them to the table.
which you're inviting.
And you're setting them up, hey, by the way, when we do for the next soup search, you're gonna be there.
Right.
That's a huge
Absolutely.
message to send.
It is.
That's the exact piece I brought up initially, was about connecting people, and this is our way to be able to connect with the group.
I don't know, I think every group ought to have a representative. I mean, I think that the teaching aides ought to have somebody on this group.
Not at this point though, Carrie. This is just like for our interim right now. We're talking about having one small group.
Well, I know, we're talking about, what, 10?
12 or 10.
Yeah.
Ten?
He's got a.
I mean, I don't know, I think certainly every level. I mean, the high school, but, you know, and I don't know if they, you know,
I think that's where you were going. Let's identify.
Right, let's
Yeah.
let's identify. I mean, I think, Colin, hang on one second.
Yep.
We know we want a representative from each school. Do we want an administrator and a teacher from each school? Does that sound?
Then you're up at 20 right now.
yeah.
No,
Yeah, that's
one.
22 people.
You said an administrator and a representative.
I'm sorry, from each level. So
Oh,
one
oh,
high
oh,
school,
oh, that's
one
different.
junior high, and maybe 2 elementary.
Yeah,
How many people do we want on this?
12, we said 12.
10 to 12.
10 to 12. Doesn't matter, it could be smaller.
So then our numbers gotta be a lot smaller, so. We
Well,
can,
so if we do a principal at the elementary level, 2 principals at the elementary level, and 2 teachers at the elementary level, a principal and a teacher at the middle school level, and then we have a principal and a teacher at the high school level. What do we have? 8.
You're at
That's
8.
eight, isn't it?
One, just, I
But you haven't
agree with
included
you. I'm just saying,
administration
one
at
thing you remember is our elementaries, one elementary is equal to likely 2.5 or 3 of the middle school. So if you have 2 elementary and 1 middle school, when you think about the procedures, you've got 1 high school. So the high school is equal to 2 middle schools. If you're thinking of, if you want to have equality. So if you have 1 middle school, you should probably have to have 2 in high school. That makes sense?
Yeah,
Because,
we're going backwards. with that.
right, so the elementary is smaller than the middle school.
Okay.
Right, so 2 elementaries equal, or 3 elementaries equal 1 middle school. When you think about equal distribution of students and people.
But
but
it's
I think we
also,
should have the MEA people.
it's also 3 different schools though, who have been operating somewhat autonomously and have their own issues. Where, where like say Washington or Wilson, they all have their one school. So it's kind of broader based than to know more of what they want.
Yeah, I
So
think
I
we
kinda
need to
see
have
that
them.
up
I'm just saying, you have 4 elementaries and 1 at the high school. The high school, is
portion.
a little bit disproportionate than the elementary. But I mean, it just, that's not.
I mean, right now, we're looking at an interim who works well with they're gonna be in this building, they've gotta work with our directors, they've gotta know,
Sure.
But our focus group though is purely to ask them, what do you want?
Right.
So it's not even about that piece, it's about, they're gonna sit with Joe and Joe's gonna ask them the same question and they're gonna deliberate and they're gonna make their list.
Yeah.
Let me ask, I told Colin to wait. Colin?
Yeah, so I mean, I know it says 3 to 4 weeks for this process. I guess I'm not seeing how that process is going to be 3 to 4 weeks. If we're going to be incorporating a focus group, I mean, now, so we, let's say this is week 1, right? We sit down, we have the focus group come in, or we compose the focus group, then we have them come in, we have them weigh. We still haven't done anything other than just gather data. Then from there, we're going to get people applying, and then we have to then interview these people. Then we have to discuss which ones we like, and then we have to decide. I'm not seeing this 3 to 4 weeks here at all. Is this still a feasible endeavor by incorporating a focus group in the measure?
Okay, hold that thought.
Okay.
Answer, Pauline.
That was missing. Well, obviously, he feels it can be done in 3 to 4 weeks with that focus group. He put it in there.
Yes,
So-
right.
I
would say
know,
that-
but I'm
that we can do
not
that.
seeing it.
Oh,
How?
He's
oh,
not,
yeah, well, I mean, it'll take even longer if we keep questioning. We need to move
Right.
forward with it.
right.
I think that honestly, in my opinion, no, I'll let him finish his thing, but I did want to go on to something else as far as what I thought we could put in.
Okay, well, I want to focus on, we'll look at the time in just a second. Let's assume we're gonna do option one that has a focus group. And who do we want to identify to be in there?
That's what I figured. We got 3 different levels, pick 3 principals, take 6 teachers, 2 directors and Lori.
I wrote something down, so I put Lori, MEA, so someone from MEA. A McKinley rep, we haven't talked about McKinley because they kind of are like, I don't want to say special ed, but they have their whole, it's a whole nother
It
group.
could be a
to
good
take into
resource.
concept.
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
McKinley actually sent me a message and said, could we get somebody on the interview committee?
Well, there you go.
So
A
maybe,
McKinley rep,
maybe that's a good idea.
someone from special ed, principals. And I thought instead of going elementary, middle school, how about some new hire teachers versus some more experienced teachers? We could look at it that way too, might be a thought. So that's what I wrote down. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4,
that's
5,
good.
6, like 7 or 8 right there.
I would be
So
more
you're all-
interested in hearing what the more experienced teachers have to say as opposed to brand new teachers. Maybe they don't know a lot of the ins and outs yet. That was just kind of what I was thinking, but I don't
But they're
know.
taught a lot of the new methods that we may not be aware of, so it might not be a bad idea to hear from them.
Sure.
And just have to that maybe our representative. I'm always about the more experienced teachers too, but a lot of the new ones may have different perspectives.
Sure.
So that's
And
kind of what I wrote
especially,
down.
and especially if we want to retain our new teachers, right? I mean, what are they looking for?
No, right. No, absolutely.
We're also saying they're important too. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just a thought. Okay. We're gonna say.
So okay, so we have Lori, we have a representative from MEA, McKinley, special ed, some principals, new teachers, some experienced teachers, and people that represent,
A director.
Sure.
That could be a crossover with Joanne.
Yeah,
that could be special ed.
I would agree.
Special
I
ed
concur
slash
with that.
director.
Assessment of Joanne could be on that group.
I don't know if anybody asked
Sorry, yeah.
or this yet, but Lori, you're probably the busiest person in this district. Are you okay? Are you okay with being part of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we just kind of throw it in there. She's gonna do it.
I asked her on the side.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
After I had her name out there.
How's the list? Yeah. Well,
We have,
20?
well, it depends on, okay, so let's just say, so Lori, now, one of the things Mark had suggested with MEA is that each school has a representative for MEA, is that correct? For each,
Yeah, I mean, again, I would probably recommend just saying MEA we'd like to have, and whether that's 1 or 2 reps. And then based on who they give us, we would then fill in the blanks on what we don't have. If
okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if they have an elementary person from MEA, then we'll use that as the elementary. If they have a special ed, we'll use that as a special ed.
okay.
And then fill in the other. That makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah, so same thing with the principals, right?
Wouldn't it be, yeah,
So
wouldn't you want the
how,
president of the AMA to be on?
Yes, but if the president says, hey, I want somebody else to be on that.
Yeah, it's their choice.
Yes.
so how do we identify the actual people? We've narrowed it down to the areas that we want. And let me ask before we move on to that. So we have, Lori that will be working closely. We have MEA, we have McKinley representatives, special ed principals, and teachers, new and experienced. Are we missing anybody in general off that list?
I think you need to have directors on the list.
Directors?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all of
Not
them? Okay.
2, maybe.
Okay. Okay, anybody
That's
else?
where I was going to say.
Anything else we're
That's
missing? Okay.
Sounds like a list of about 40 people.
No, that's
I think it's about 10 or 12.
Okay, that's-
Colin?
Yeah, Mark, I'm going back to that process thing. Mark, your last day is June 1st, right?
No,
No, third.
30th?
Yeah.
All right. That's kind of why I'm looking at this process thing. We are under a timelines for that too. So, incorporation of a focus group, I'd like to ideally, but I want to make sure we even have time for it. So that's why I'm bringing that.
One of the things that Joe had mentioned, in a conversation that he and I had was that we want to get this ad out, right? This ad isn't going to have these characteristics. So we can post our ad, start getting people in as we are looking at the people and also collecting the data from our focus group. Yeah,
Simultaneously.
correct.
You're exactly right.
That's
And what
so,
we can do simultaneously, we'll post it. Right, no, seriously, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you'll meet with the focus group next week and you'll try to.
And if we can have by the end of next week, Mark, I'm looking at you to call in, I don't know those people, but who represents them. And I know it's a crazy time of year, but if they could give an hour and a half, that'd be great.
I think people would be happy to do that, to be honest.
Yeah,
Because
we
if
just
that's
have to-
your-
Versus sitting at scholarship night for 3 hours.
Yeah.
My recommendation, I guess, would be is, working with you, Joe, is to find the date and then find the time and then ask the people. And if they can't make it, we'll ask somebody else.
And I'm looking at the.
Because I'm not gonna be able
Mark,
to float.
Monday,
14
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, next week.
Okay.
Hopefully one of those
We'll
will be.
connect, because I'm not gonna be able to float 13 people in their calendars. We're gonna say, here's the time.
who wants to?
And
You can
then
make
I mean, I guess what I would say is I would work with you. I'll take the list. I'll make a recommendation somehow. We'll talk about that. Here are the people. And then, we'll find a place for you to meet with.
So the only thing that I'd like to see is that it gets ran through Stacy to coordinate the people that.
Yeah, I'll put a list together with Stacy and say, here's the people. You know, again, I'm always cautious about, hurting people's feelings because they're not on the list, right? So that's why I don't want, I mean, we've got one here, but that's great, but you know, everybody wants to be involved if they're not included, right?
What if we have?
How many are on the list now? We have 12?
Well, we
We're gonna
have,
make it 12.
we're gonna make it 12, but we have Lori, we have representative MEA, we got McKinley representative, we have special ed, we have principals, we have new teachers, but new and experienced and directors.
Should we add anyone in the custodial group to that?
I don't think at this time with the interim.
Yeah, just to Mark's point, people are gonna be like, oh, why didn't you think about us?
Right.
Right, and then
But
we
again,
have
you
the
can say,
paras.
this could be interim, you're gonna get input into this.
Absolutely, I mean, and that's what we can say. When it comes to hiring our permanent position, we're gonna have custodial, we're gonna have paras, we're gonna have we're gonna have parents, we're gonna have business people. It's all gonna be there,
Okay.
but right now, we need to kind of focus that.
And then, may I okay, so you have I'll listen to them, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna start acting on what I've heard tonight. And we will put together everything you said. I think you got some pretty strong initiatives in what you're looking for. I got like 5 of them now, and that's plenty to sell to somebody. And then they go, great, what, again, perfect example. The ones that are more quiet, that just want to do operational, I'm gonna say, don't apply, because that's not what you're looking for. What is so healthy about what you said tonight really gives me focus on who you want.
So we don't have candidates.
You don't watch it.
That's all
Point to.
That's so pessimistic.
But if you can start June 1st, 2nd,
Really?
and 3rd,
It's a big call.
or excuse me, June 2nd and 3rd, that's a Thursday, Friday, or June 6th or 7th, Monday, Tuesday, if you could interview, we can do it that quickly. Because there's nothing else coming in. We'll have all the information we need, and then you're face to face with the candidate. So if you can look at your calendars and pick.
So are you gonna help us with this? I mean, there's some questions that really absolutely need to be asked
I will.
in the
Good
interviews.
point, yeah.
and-
You'll get a pile of
Okay.
questions that I'm gonna ask each one of you to pick 2.
Okay.
That you don't have to use any of those, or just one that's near and dear to your heart, as long as it's legal.
Sure.
Okay, so, just a couple, Joe has an idea of what the preferred qualities are. Mark and I are gonna work together to compile this list, and have, after we have a date, right? We haven't picked a date, right?
I think he said Monday, Tuesday, Thursday of next week.
Right.
Better.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm a retired guy. I got nothing else to do with it. Sit here and listen to Manitowoc and go, yeah, we're gonna get the best.
Woohoo!
Okay.
So Mark and I will come up with, put a feeler out to the people that we have on this list, to come up with who those people will be. And then I guess the next piece is that we need to talk about our ad, and there were two options for ads. Distribution. There's one that is more, in my opinion, catchy, which is the second one that has our logo on it. And then there's another one that's kind of a little more basic.
Where is that located, please?
Okay, so I sent everybody a message on May 17th. That's May 17th.
Yes. Which Word document is it interim superintendent, interim
There's,
position
there's
vacancy?
interim
Advertisement.
position vacancy, Manitowoc Public School District.
That's the one.
And then there's the other one is interim superintendent advertisement, right?
Yes.
Right,
Again,
one
this
says,
doesn't give them the details. It's okay, they're doing it. Then they inquire, and then this is what you told me. This is what I'll say what you're looking for.
yes,
Well, rounded.
Gloria forward.
Which one's the Peppy one?
She likes this.
The one that MPSD
Oh, yeah,
logo
yeah,
on it. It just, you know, it's fun. It talks about Manitowoc. And where we're located and
Yeah.
the bike paths and gives us some demographics about our district. It has our vision.
Oh, here it is.
We want them to think they're coming for
This one is-
vacation.
Right.
I just don't have the colors.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
So if everyone likes the.
I guess my only comment on that is, I think maybe just check some of these numbers. I'm not sure if that enrollment's accurate right now. I think it's a little bit less than that unless something's changed since I last saw it.
Where?
I think Joe got this information from Mark, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So that's probably Mark or Jones.
4,900.
4980.
I'm sure we took it the third Friday though.
All right, if that's current, then I was just going off the stuff I was looking at from.
Yeah, there's lots of different enrollment numbers, so I'm sure third Friday is different than actual butts and seats and.
Now we're closed and advertising.
Right.
That'd be okay.
I think it looks great.
Okay, anyone strongly object to the one with the MPSD logo?
Yeah.
What about the budget? Isn't
I like
it?
it. Do it.
So
Yeah, it's like $8 million. So
So where
the
does,
difference
where does this go out through?
We'll talk
That's the
about
next-
that. It's
Okay,
gonna
okay.
it's gonna go out to, there's lots of free ones. The other one we have to decide on. There's another one that would cost us $600. Is that right? That if we wanna do that, then that's another one. But there's about, I don't know,
Does anyone oppose this one? That's the big question.
Is the budget correct? 81 million is what we're forecasting for this next budget, or are we doing 87?
I've just seen 88, 89.
Yeah.
In that range. So again, I'm just thinking if we're gonna attract candidates,
Oh goodness, it's close.
bigger budget might sound more attractive.
Pick it up a few million?
I just,
Whatever it actually is.
I mean, Mark gave them all the numbers, so I think we just roll with it.
Well, the
This
last
is, we want
budget
them
that's
getting
published
this out
is-
tomorrow.
We want the person to come in and say, oh, God, I got another nine.
I get
9
one
million.
million.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Mark, maybe you can speak. Is 81 accurate? I mean, the last published budget was like,
So it depends on what you're counting as budget, right? So there's like, it's just like student enrollment, there's different numbers. So if you're counting the budget, including your fund balance and federal expenditures, it moves up to 89. But there's some things that aren't expendable, like debt and those things, that go back to 81. So, I mean, it's, in general, I guess it's just my opinion. No interim is gonna look at the budget and say 81, 83, 91, 93. That is not in the focus of what it is. You know, we're the about 30th largest school district in the state, which means that there will be 490 school districts or 390 school districts that has a budget less than us. So, I mean, it's big. So, you know, there are some school districts that have 100 million and one that has almost $1 billion. But, you know,
He's just talking from transparency. So,
yeah, I mean, the number is correct. It just depends on what number you want to use.
That's why if you're saying candidates won't care, then I don't care.
They won't.
Yeah. All right, I think we're good with it.
Okay, so, so we're gonna use that
This one?
advertisement. Yep, we're gonna use that advertisement and then.
Are they like numbered 1 and 2, or is it just the ad with the logo on it, just for?
Yeah, it's just the ad, it's
Okay.
called interim superintendent advertisement. Okay. It's the name of the document.
So what do you think, Joe? Is that a good ad?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's template. I mean.
I mean, it is.
If you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna be special with the posting, no,
Yeah,
you're
no.
not.
No,
But
no,
it's enough to people, hey, I
but
want
it's
to,
enough to give them.
I want to hear more. This will spark some communication.
Yeah,
I already got a couple, just let you know. People go, hey, Joe, I heard that they're open. Yeah, they are. Well, first of all, congratulations, Mark. And they said, okay, what are they looking
Okay, so then the other thing is, I don't have that. There's a list of, I wanna say, what, 5 or 6 that are free?
Yeah,
Yep,
it's on your Stacy.
Okay,
at? Yeah,
WAS does the statewide one for $600. I think we should go with that. It's $600. Let's increase our pool. In my opinion.
What does Joe think about
it would, and it's reasonable. There are a couple others I didn't even put on here because they're national searches and that'd be a waste of your money. But this goes to every
I'm okay with that.
so
superintendent.
$600, is that what you said?
He's saying for a broader search.
Sure, yeah,
$600 it would be
That's-
maybe worth it.
It's loose changing.
it's a state search, and then the other ones are like WASB and other ones that we can use, and those are all free. So this is the only one that we would be,
Okay.
so,
And again, the firm I work with, they know people in Illinois, just to be aware, there are gonna be some retired people from Illinois that would be interested.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
I do too. Using Wasta, the
The
$600.
$600 one, I think it's a good
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
investment.
so,
Yeah.
Wasta is
Do we have to vote on that?
right here.
I don't know, you don't have to vote on it, but it's kind of a consensus on it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think so unless as long as we're a consensus that that's what we wanna do.
All right.
It's up to you, and you can.
It's just an expenditure. That's why I was asking that.
Yeah, spend the money, Joe.
Okay, so I think that's it. We hit on everything.
Am I missing anything?
Did we?
You will get, and good work, you will get what I believe I heard, and I paraphrased you, and I think you got it. You have some marching orders for people, per person. And again, if it's all right, I will use the fearless, proactive problem solver.
Good job.
I like
Well,
it. Make
you
sure.
said-
Sounds like a Marvel card.
And then everyone went, yeah. So,
Might not be happy with what you get.
Oh,
right,
yeah,
exactly, that's the
true.
fearless.
That's what we're trying. Put that on
Exactly,
together.
that's fearless. Can you please look for your own calendars, because we can interview again, June 2nd, 3rd, 6th, or 7th. I know it's a busy time, but
Are you talking about in the evening, or like when would that be?
you tell me,
Time.
right?
The only time I'm not free is.
No,
Wednesday
mass falling, you can't do two in a day.
I can't do what?
Well,
You can't do
you have to,
two meetings
you
in a
have to
day.
sleep in the day, no?
Oh, yeah.
Thursday,
Unless we put them close
No.
together. If we put them close together, it would be nice.
Yeah, close together.
June what?
First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh.
Any of those would work for me.
Second looks pretty good right now for me. First, do we have
And how many people do you want to interview?
6th is not.
What do you think? How many think we should have? 5?
3 or 4.
3 or 4?
Or you can interview more if you want. Again, it's really hard with the interim. There are a lot of these people, I'll call them, they're retired.
Sure.
They say, hey, Joe, how you doing? Good. Hey, you.
Is it possible to get, just throwing this out there, but however many people apply, I'd like to see whoever applies and then your recommendation on the 3 that we should interview. Could that be doable?
Very doable.
Yeah.
Or quite frankly, I could give them all to you and you'd say, Joe, I want this one, this one. It's up to you.
I'd like to see
I
a
think both end up
recommendation.
taking, I'd still like to get your
Yeah.
Sure.
recommendation and just the why behind it.
Yeah.
I'd be glad to.
Just gonna reiterate what Mark said a couple of meetings ago, at least. it's not gonna be a huge pool as it is, you know what I mean? Just the.
Right.
Our numbers
Yeah, and
aren't
I
gonna be
did put
small.
that, in our letter of agreement. I added that we would get them all so we can all look at them. What we want though is Joe to give us his recommendation. And if there were someone you were like, why did you pick this guy? Right? That I really liked him. You know,
Give the
what were
reason
you
behind
thinking
what
that,
you were going.
yeah,
Right.
that we can say, well, maybe we
Sure.
want to throw him in the mix. So that's, yeah. So we will get that. And that doesn't mean that each one of you has to read each one of them, but those of you that are interested in wanting to know that and get the feedback, you'll have that option.
So
But
we're
we
looking
want-
at June
yeah.
1st, 2nd, or 3rd?
We want Joe not to include the sleepers.
Sure.
We don't want you to, we want you to screen out
The
the
sleepers.
possible sleepers.
I'll do that, and then you can ask me why. How come we didn't see this person? I thought
Right,
they were good.
exactly, yeah.
I need
Okay.
Lori on June 1st. We have this.
The retirement.
Retirement.
That's gonna be a
But if you,
whole day.
but if
So-
you want to do it without her,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Why don't we look at the 2nd,
Okay.
the 6th?
6 doesn't work for me.
Second work for you.
2nd works for me.
I can make the second one.
I can make the 2nd work.
What time? 5?
I actually, yeah, I'm pretty clear up that day.
I mean, I'm okay with it being.
Sure, 5 or 6 is fine with it. How long is each interview gonna go?
An hour.
So yeah,
All evening.
what would we be doing at that? That would be the interview then?
Yeah.
Okay, all
So then-
4.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
thinking
And
4?
before that, you'll be getting questions that you can choose from. Just, then you let me know and I'll compile them. And actually, what happens in the interview, you'll have your name and your question, next name and question. Try to make this simple.
These are our questions, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, I'm giving you samples, use them or not. That's your choice.
Are
The
you
only
gonna-
thing I screen on your questions is if they're legal to ask. Like, are you, never mind.
Right, no, I got you.
Are you gonna allow for like a little gap period to,
For the bathroom?
yeah, I mean, just, and to allow
Not them to lead to each other.
one candidate, you know what I'm saying? Isn't that like?
We'll work out that, but
Okay,
we probably don't want one candidate going in, one the other
right,
one
that's what I mean.
going out.
Yeah.
Unless we work
So it might have
with
to be
HR.
4.
For HR can help
Yeah,
us.
because if it's an hour and
I
then.
understand.
So are you guys good with the 2nd? Because so
Yeah,
far,
let's do
everybody over
2nd.
here is- Carrie, are you?
I'm okay.
2nd works for me.
Okay.
Sure, what time?
Whatever we're doing.
Okay, so the 2nd, and then what time?
We're gonna do them all in a second.
If we do them all on the 2nd, then we
We should
probably
probably go
should
earlier.
start earlier.
Yeah, I agree. I concur.
I can make any time.
Me too.
You can start around noon. It's always
Go
good.
work
Then you
then.
have lunch and then you're on for the next 5-6 hours. But you'll be done then.
Noon.
Noon.
Can we do 2? I got a 1 o'clock meeting that I gotta. you guys have to-
2 o'clock's fine with
2
me.
o'clock?
PM.
Start
2 o'clock?
And do we want to do a different day or we want, this is it?
I think so.
This is
Open
what we
out.
got.
Okay.
Okay.
When's graduation? The 6th?
Okay.
The
June 2nd,
10th.
right?
10.
Graduation's the
Okay.
10th.
2.
Yeah, that makes it easy, right?
Yeah.
2 and 2.
Okay.
2022?
How much time should we block out for this? About 3 to 4 hours?
4.
4?
We shouldn't interview more than 3.
Joel, are you suggesting 3 or 4 candidates interview?
No, hours.
I'm getting to that right now.
Right.
Oh,
I really gotta see what the pool is. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to not answer it.
Probably
We
4
get-
hours is what I would think.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had 2, 3:15, 4:30, 5:45, and 7 PM. If you wanted to do that, man. That's an hour and 15, which gives you a little
Is
break.
that
It
right?
just gives us the option. We don't.
And
we
you're
may
talking
not
to
have that
administrators, and
many, right?
administrators tend to be verbal.
We are.
Hey,
is there, if we,
30, so.
Okay, so we have, closed
and you're the
session, I'm
contact
assuming,
person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, for they're contacting
For
me or,
me giving you the question.
yes, yep, yeah, and I'll get it to.
Well, I guess they have.
And I'm assuming, Joe, we do closed session on this?
Lori, do you need a copy for what the citing would be?
That would be great.
question.
Yeah,
Do we maybe want to set up a second date? Because, if we're time blocking out 4 hours, say we don't get everybody, do we want to tie block out a second date just as a tentative?
I think if they can't make it and it's someone we absolutely have, we feel like we have to have, I guess I would want to approach it at that time. But
I'm
I
just saying even,
What he's saying is maybe just pencil it in now in case you need it.
yeah.
That's fine.
Is there another pencil in date, maybe?
Well,
Oh,
we'd be
what's
looking
the
at,
etiquette on that, Mark?
we'd looking
There's
at
a
the,
tornado.
we'd
We
be
should
looking
have
at the
second.
sixth
I
or the
mean,
seventh.
oh, if it's a tornado, we should have second date, but if you say, well, can you make it on?
How about the 7th?
No, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna say that it's the second and that if, let's just say we like more than,
Right, okay.
we just have that, but nobody knows we have that second date.
But what if the person says,
It's tentative.
The person says, I can't make the second, and you really like the person.
Yeah.
You will make a second agree, if that's what we're
Okay.
gonna do right here.
that's
You're
right,
saying, I
okay,
want it
that's,
this
that
time.
was the
Right.
question.
So, the Monday, the sixth?
Yep.
I can't do the 6th.
Oh, okay, what about the seventh? That's a Tuesday. We
7th.
do not have a meeting that day.
That works.
Yeah, I can do the 7th.
Okay, so let's say the seventh, starting at 2:00 again, if we have to do that.
2 o'clock, June 7th, and 2 o'clock, June 2nd.
Correct.
That's cool.
That's 7th.
Oh,
This information, Mark, you'll be getting you get this posted on your school.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else? Joe, can you think of anything else?
You done good.
Good.
Yeah, just.
You did.
I was just gonna
I
say,
mean-
do you want tonight to choose the date for the staff piece? Is that a board piece or just want us to pick it?
That's gonna have to work on the staff.
Yeah,
Dealing with
I understand that was not a board.
Well, what we're gonna do though is we're gonna put it out to the staff. This is the day, who can do it. And if one teacher that, was recommended, my understanding, to probably go out to everybody and whoever is available to.
oh, you can't do
Well,
that.
then you're gonna get a lot on that.
Then you're
because
picking.
We're gonna ask a few.
Okay.
I'll give you some feedback on what we ask and then you say, okay, then we'll do that. But we just have to pick the date. And I think I heard you say any day next week. Any day but Friday. And we'll have to do it after school. Is that okay? 4:00 first.
Yes, that's not.
Well, let's connect when we're done. I guess
Right.
it's not the board piece. I can do that.
Yes, and the board will not be at that.
No, I just want it to be ran through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I won't
Yeah,
be there
yeah.
either.
Right.
Just Lori
Right.
Lowe and
Correct.
other staff.
All right, so, okay, if there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, everybody.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Bye.
Okay.